All right. Hello, everybody. This is Brian from Wick Goes Carnivore. Got Greg here from My Weight Loss Life. And today is our first Carnivore Bowl, I guess if you call it, where we're going to talk about, like tailgating and game day type of foods that are more low carb carnivore. We want to get you all involved as well and tell us, what good game day foods you like to eat. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming NFL season. We're going to give our predictions for who we think are going to win the different divisions and who might win the Super Bowl. We want to see who you guys think are going to win as well. So we're going to have different questions that we'll ask you to interact with us. And just basically go from there. Then we'll probably do some Q&A if anybody has other questions for us. So we thought, this would be kind of cool to something that we don't see a lot of is mixing sports and the carnivore, or I don't want to say just carnivore because I really want to say low carb, right? Carnivore bowl sounds cool. Probably sounds better than saying like the low carb bowl. So that's
Yeah,
why we
definitely.
picked that. But definitely though, I think, think low carb. So that, there's people out there that watch both of our channels that are more low carb. And Greg, I think a lot of times you teeter back and forth between low carb and carnivore. So
Yeah,
definitely, the whole low carb idea. So we'll take questions and so forth for that. So first, let's ask everybody in the audience that is here if you can hit the like button, whichever channel you're watching this on. That'll help to get YouTube to put it through its algorithm and get more people onto the live stream tonight. And then we have a question for everybody. If you could give us in the chat, what is your favorite NFL football team? And while you're starting that in the chat, Greg, why don't you tell us who your favorite NFL football team is?
well, I live in Iowa, and ever since I was a little kid, my dad had a team that he liked, and it was the Minnesota Vikings. So my
Okay.
favorite team is the Minnesota Vikings. I've been a season ticket holder before for 1 year, but needless to say, my expectations are always kind of low. That way, I'm not disappointed because they tend to disappoint come the playoffs. So,
Okay.
how about you?
So this is going to be interesting. So first of all, my favorite team has never been in the Super Bowl. So I will say that. Hopefully they will get there soon. I'm hoping. And you said the Minnesota Vikings. It's funny. My favorite team is the Detroit Lions.
No,
And they're probably going to be battling for the division, I think, this year. I
yeah,
think Minnesota is probably the favorite, but I like the improvement that Detroit's been making. So maybe they can kind of battle them a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, that'll be interesting come pick time for sure. So I
Yeah.
definitely think Detroit is on the rise, and I don't know if Minnesota got any better or not. So we'll see. But I'm with you. It's between those two, I think, for the division winner, for sure. But yeah, they're definitely on the rise and doing well. So we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah. All right. Sorry here. I'm kind of multitasking really quick.
Nope, that's
um,
okay.
just 1 second here. All right. So sorry about that. Um, okay. So again, if you were watching in the audience, let us know who your favorite NFL team is. We do have one comment here. I'm in the UK, so I don't have a favorite NFL team. So welcome, Natalie, to our Carnivore Bowl live stream, and thanks for responding. So we're waiting for anybody else. Let's just give a little background about ourselves. So, Greg, why don't you start?
Sure, I'll kind of tell my story a little bit. I want to say back in September 2nd of last year. I had to quit my job. I had a lot of arthritis pain in my body. I have some in my spine, my hips, my knees, my ankles. And what would happen is, as a hotel general manager, I'd get home from work and I could not walk. I was in so much pain, so I had to quit my job. Well, as time went around, I come fall, I didn't know what else, what I was going to do for a living. Was I going to apply for disability? Because I just was so immobile and hurting so much that I had a hard time just moving around during the day. So, come fall, it just kind of took a while to figure out if I was going to go back to work. Was I going to apply for disability, whatever have you? Well, next thing you know, it's December and rolling into January. And my wife, who really didn't need to lose weight in December, she decided that she was going to do intermittent fasting. And she started doing intermittent fasting. And next thing you know, she's down 15 pounds. And I'm looking at her saying, what's wrong with me? I'm not really doing anything. I did end up applying for disability in December, but I wasn't doing anything for my health. And I was 389.2 pounds at the time, and I decided I needed to do something about it. And I couldn't be very mobile, couldn't really exercise, do a lot of that. And I decided, I think a low carb keto type diet would work for me, and I decided to go that route. And on January 22nd, I decided I'm gonna do that, and I got on the plan and started working it, and did a lot of low carb keto type foods, and I had a lot of success. It's went really well, actually. And I found this awesome community on YouTube. Well, there's a lot of great people that talk about weight loss and what you should do, or what really helps. And I started to get involved with that a little bit, and I learned a little bit about carnivore as well, and saw a lot of people. International Carnivore, I think I caught his story first, because he lost 253 pounds in a year, and I was like, wow, how do you do that? That's amazing. And so I guess I just learned a little bit more about carnivore there, and I definitely see the benefits of carnivore. Even tried it a little bit, and what I do now is I do basically a keto. I call it keto, one day, carnivore the next. I just really focus on little to no carbs, I guess is what you could say. But I will say this: I was on carnivore for a week and a half, and during that time, I lost 13 pounds, and I felt pretty good. And then the 4th of July rolled around, and I had a few goodies. I was feeling good about myself because I had lost, I was pretty close to 70 pounds, I think, at the time. And I gained that. I went off the plan and gained that 13 pounds I lost on carnivore right back. And then it took me a couple weeks to finally start dropping again. Granted, I think at that time I was at a plateau, and that's one of the reasons why I tried carnivores. I wanted to break through that. I eventually broke through it, doing basically keto one day, carnivore the next. And as of today, I'm 85 pounds down, and I'm a couple days short of 7 months. So it's worked really well for me. I still have arthritis pain, still working on that. Trying to figure out what my next steps are, but I definitely am more mobile and able to do a few more things. I just, I still do have the pain, and that's where I'm looking at maybe doing a 30-day challenge coming up for carnivore, and seeing what that does with my pain, and see if it takes most of it away. That'd be pretty awesome.
85 pounds in just under 7 months. That's great.
Yeah, and I think
Congratulations.
thank you. And it's interesting. I say it proudly. It's like I didn't take any drugs. I did not exercise. I've not had any surgeries. I did this on diet alone, and I'm 51 years old, so it feels pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so I'll tell y'all a little bit about myself. I started actually doing keto, low carb keto style. That would have been around probably mid to late April of 2022. I did about 2 to 2.5 months. And then I switched to carnivore. Before I continue, there was a question that came up that I'm going to put in here while you were, or right at the end of
Oh, yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. That's the wrong question.
I think it's
Here we go.
osteoarthritis.
Is it
Yep,
rheumatoid or osteos? All right.
yep,
So it's
osteo.
osteoarthritis that you have?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So thanks for that question, Natalie. Okay. So, yeah, then I moved to carnivore after about 2 to 2.5 months. That would have been in July of 2022. That first 2.5 month period is keto. I lost a few pounds, maybe 10 pounds or so. But my big weight loss was probably in the first 4 months or so on carnivore. I lost about 60 pounds or so.
That's like,
Then I kind of got into the holidays and was cheating a bit too much and stuff and gained a few pounds. And then I kind of was stagnant for a while. Then I started losing weight again. So now I'm about 13 months, so a little over a year, and I've lost right around 75 pounds.
that's
For
great.
me, there's been some big benefits outside of the weight, and that would be arthritis and joint pain is all gone. I had AFib, atrial fibrillation, with my heart, where it goes into these episodes of beating really fast and then slows down back to normal and it goes back to fast and so forth. And I was at a point I was probably having a couple a week or close to that, and I haven't had an episode in over a year.
Oh, that's
So
great.
that seems to be healed from it. And then just things like minor depression was healed. I'm happier, better mood, more energy, stuff like that. Something I remembered just more recently that I kind of forgot about, but I remembered that before carnivore, I used to get a lot of back pain and pain in my hips in bed. I contributed to having an older mattress, but I was overweight as well. But very quickly, probably, in the first week or so of going to carnivore, that pain went away and I'm able to sleep through the night in bed. But it was to the point before that where I would get up like maybe halfway through the night. Sometimes I was so sore I couldn't keep going from side to side, and I'd go to like sleep on the recliner downstairs or something the rest of the night. And that doesn't happen anymore. So that seemed to be fixed with carnivore as well. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm not always strict with my carnivore. I need to be better, I think, about that, because I found that I always feel best when I don't have any carbs at all and sticking complete carnivore. But I do have carbs here and there at different times. So,
It's interesting
okay.
how when you dial in your eating, you can see how the little things affect you real easily, and then you can dial it down and change it so you know not to eat that type of food again because it gives you a hard time or it doesn't work well with you.
Mm,
That's what's nice about doing this type of eating for sure.
yeah. Okay. So Brad says go Vikings. So we got another Vikings fan for you. So my Lions are being outnumbered here now. Oh, well.
That away, Brad.
Let's see. Natalie said, well done. That's amazing weight loss. I'm not sure if she was talking to you or to me, but we both done a great job for weight loss. So congratulations to both of us.
Yeah.
And here we have a question from Natalie. Do you have bone broth regularly? Collagen is great for osteoarthritis.
I got to say, I have not done either of those. I haven't done any bone broth and the collagen. I was thinking I probably need to start adding that as I lose the weight. I'm getting looser skin, and I think that will help with that as well. So that's something I probably definitely need to take a look at going forward, especially if it works. That's something I definitely have to take a look at.
Okay. All right. So anybody that's new in the chat, go ahead and put in there who your favorite NFL team is. If you have any questions, ask them in the chat. Just put a Q in the front so that we know. And let's move on to some NFL predictions. So, Greg, I'm going to ask you first here. Let's just start with the AFC North. Who do you think is going to win that division?
That's going to be probably, I think, one of the tougher divisions in the AFC for sure. Um, I took a look at it. I've got actually three teams that I feel are, in the hunt for the division title, and I believe the two teams that aren't in the hunt for the title will be wild card teams. Not sure if that's happened before or not, but I'm picking the Baltimore Ravens to win that division this year, as long as everybody stays healthy. If they have injuries, then that's probably not going to be the case. Now, obviously, the Bengals are pretty tough, and so are the Browns. I just feel that maybe the Ravens made some good changes this year, and if they can stay healthy, I think that they're going to be surprise some people and be the division winners this year.
All right.
How about
S-
yourself?
So I'm gonna go with the Bengals actually, and I know that's probably a easy pick in the sense of everybody's probably picking them.
Mm-hmm.
I like your pick for the Ravens. That's a good one. And I think Cincinnati gets more media time as the darlings of the division, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess I kind of jumped on the bandwagon with this one, but I really like Joe Burrow, and I think that if he stays healthy,
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to win the division. So I'm going to go with the Bengals there.
Yeah, I can't blame you for picking them. They've definitely got a lot of talent on that team as well. I think it's just one of those things. They've been there the last couple of years, and I'm just kind of thinking, well, maybe it's Baltimore's year to kind of slip in there and surprise everybody. But the Browns, they could be right there as well. And one of my teams that I think will surprise some people this year is the Steelers. I think they'll be a lot tougher than people realize.
Hmm. Okay. So is the Browns the other team with the Bengals that you think are going to be wild card, or is it the
Yeah,
Steelers?
Bengals and Browns are who I'd pick for wild card teams to make the playoffs for sure.
Okay, cool. And Brad says we know the Steelers will be last. I guess it all depends on how Pickett continues to develop, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to the University of Toledo. Always been a Toledo fan,
Oh yeah.
and Deontay Johnson is from Toledo, and I'm hoping he has a bounce back year because it seems like he really struggled this past year. The year before, he had a pretty good year. So I think that he has the potential to have a pretty good year for the Steelers. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Definitely.
Okay, so Natalie, by the way, says that she just subscribed to my channel, and congratulations was to you. Okay, thank you, Natalie. Thank you for subscribing. I hope that you like the channel. I usually do put out a lot of different, a lot of different carnivore or keto related topics on my channel, so check it out. All right. So let's see. I think we're caught up on any questions and stuff. So let's go to the AFC East division. Who do you have there?
Wow, that's another very tough division. I'm kind of going on gut on this one. There is definitely three teams I think that could be in the hunt for that. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, and I think the New York Jets are going to be in the hunt this year. And I would say I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here, and I think the New York Jets are going to win the division this year. And I think with Rodgers and the kind of the talent they brought in there, I think they're going to surprise some people. But I believe they're going to be right there to contend. Obviously, Buffalo's right there. Miami, they tend to have the injury bug, so I guess that's why I didn't pick them. Granted, I could easily pick Buffalo too, but I have a feeling the Jets might be pretty decent this year.
Okay. So I agree about Miami and the injury bug. I am a huge Alabama fan, and that means I'm a Tua fan.
Mm-hmm.
But he has, even in college, he seemed to be prone to injuries, and I'm not sold on his ability to stay healthy. So I think that really hurts the Dolphins. So I think you're right. It can be Bills or Jets. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. So I'm kind of doing the same thing I did with Cincinnati. I'm going with the team that is kind of probably expected to be there, but the Jets with Aaron Rodgers are going to make things interesting. I do expect them to be a playoff team. I just think the Bills are probably going to win the division. So I'm going to go with the Bills for the division. But the Jets could very well win the division too. They're going to be a good team. So,
Yeah, definitely. It'll be fun to watch for sure.
yeah. All right. So let's go to the AFC South. And this could be an interesting one. So I'm just going to let you go ahead and pick what you got there.
That's probably those teams I probably follow the least on my radar, but I'm going to probably go with the same one that won it last year. Maybe it wasn't. I'm trying to think if Jacksonville was a divisional winner, but that's who I'm going to go with this year. I know they were in the playoffs last year. I'm assuming they're going to get better. I know there's been a lot of talk about the Texans doing okay with the new coach, but I think I'm going to go with the experience in Jacksonville being pretty decent last year to win that division.
Okay. So I also am picking the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is an interesting division because I kind of feel like anybody in that division could win it. None of them really stand out to me, but I think Jacksonville, you know, they did well last year, especially late in the season, and I think they're just getting better. They have a good young quarterback. I think they'll win the division. I don't think, they were in the playoffs last year, and I think I can't remember who they played, but they were down by a lot. Was that Miami or somebody? And they came back and won that game?
Yeah.
Do you
Yep. I
remember
remember
that?
that. Yep.
Yeah. But I still don't think that they're at that level yet that they're going to contend for the conference title. So I think they're kind of on the lower end, but I think they're going to win the division.
Yep. Makes sense.
Okay. All right. We got one more division in the AFC list. So let's switch to that before we go into anything more carnivore related. I think what we'll do is we'll do the AFC West division,
Yep.
and then we'll start talking maybe about some tailgating foods or
Yeah, that'd be
that kind of
great.
stuff. All right. So AFC West, who do you got there?
This one is it's interesting. I think Kansas City Chiefs are gonna probably be the divisional winner there. I think Denver will be better this year since Sean Payton's the head coach. I think they'll be much improved. Not sure if they're at Kansas City level yet though. San Diego, I think they're going to do about the same, and I think the Raiders will be the toilet bowl. They'll be at the bottom of the cellar, I guess. Would be my guess.
All right. So, second division here in a row that we both picked the same team. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champions from last year. They've kind of become the New England Patriots from the past, right? That were always right there. Either they were in the Super Bowl or close to it. I think they've won two Super Bowls here in the last few years now.
Yeah.
Last 4 to
Yep.
5 years. So they're going to be a pretty tough team, at least in that division. You get to the playoffs, it's going to be crazy because, there's really good teams, I think, that are going to be in the playoffs. But I definitely go with them for the division.
Yep, I agree. What would you say your wild card teams are?
So I'm definitely going with the Ravens for sure. This is really tough. um, you know, I don't know. I didn't pick the Jets, so definitely I think they're a playoff team. So I'm gonna have to
Mhm.
put them in, and then I need a third wild card team.
See, with me picking the Jets, the only other two wild card choices for me were Buffalo or Miami. So it depends on what Miami does.
Yeah,
But I definitely believe Buffalo's a playoff team, though. So I'd probably pick them over Miami.
yeah. It's interesting because you mentioned Cleveland that they could potentially be a playoff team. You got Miami. I don't know if anybody else out of the AFC South has a chance. I don't know. I think you're just going to have a division winner there.
Yep, me too.
But
Yep.
AFC West, I mean, there's, I don't know. I guess I'm probably going to say the Browns, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that last wild card team is going to be very hard to predict, to be
Yeah,
honest. So,
it will.
yeah. All right. And Carnivore Chris says hello. Hello. All right. So before we go to the NFC, let's talk a little bit about some tailgating or game day foods. And the idea here is going low carb, right? So, what are good low carb or carnivore type options for our audience? And for our audience, let us know what you think are good foods, either for like tailgating or just on game day watching the games. So, let us know in the comments. And, Greg, why don't you get us started here?
All right. I kind of wrote down a whole list. To be honest, you can't go wrong with low carb. There's so many options when it comes to tailgating when you think of basically meat. I mean, there's all kinds of good stuff. I can just kind of go down the list that I kind of wrote down, but wings obviously would be pretty popular, I would think, for tailgating. Any kind of ribs would be good. If you're don't mind a meat and cheese tray, you could do meat and cheese if you don't mind eating a little bit of cheese. Obviously you got to be a little careful with that. Another one I wrote down, and I don't know if you'll know what this is, but it's called Lutheran sushi. Have you heard of it
Hmm.
before?
No.
What? It's more, I think in Nebraska they call it that more, but what it is it's basically ham, lunch meat, and you put some Philadelphia cream cheese on it, and then you put a pickle in there and you roll it up. So
Hmm.
it would be a low carb item as well. But I just call it a Philly meat cheese roll, basically. But they're really good. Eat a lot of those. I've ate a lot of those during this weight loss journey too. It makes for a great little snack. A couple other things I've got are pork rinds. If you're wanting that crunch and you're missing chips, I like pork rinds. And then another one that I stumbled upon recently, I thought is really good, is bacon wrap pickle. Basically, you wrap
Hmm.
pickle around, or I'm sorry, you wrap the bacon around the pickle and you throw it in the air fryer and cook it that way. It actually is pretty good. I tried it a couple times, and one other time I put some Philly cream cheese in the pickle as I wrapped it up, and that was really tasty. That'd be a low carb option. You can cut it into smaller sizes and you use toothpicks to serve it if you're going to do something like that. Obviously, the burgers are a hit, just no bun. Steak kebabs would be good, I would think. And of course, bacon. I cooked a couple packages of bacon before I hopped on the live here, actually. So it's always good. That's
All
kind of
right.
list I had, but I know there's tons of good food. Is there certain things that you like, or what would you enjoy?
So yeah, first of all, Rick Charger Mopar says cook on your engine.
There you go.
So he has a video on his channel where he cooked something. Boy, I can't remember. Rick, you might want to put it in the comment. I can't remember what you cooked, but you cooked something. I thought maybe it was a roast or something on his engine. That's a great tailgate option thing, right? Very basic. You don't need to bring any kind of, you know, anything to cook with, a grill or anything, right? He set it up on his engine and cooked it. Oops, and my microphone's falling. So let's go into some of my thoughts, and some of them are going to be the same as what you had.
Hmm.
So chicken wings, I I I love chicken wings anytime, and they're perfect for whether it's tailgating or while you're watching the game. Here we go. It was beef top round, so that he cooked on his engine. Yeah.
Nice.
So chicken wings. Go back to the chicken wings here. Okay. I love eating chicken wings anytime. Matter of fact, that's what I had for dinner here before jumping on this live was chicken wings. And there's so many different ways to cook them. And I got to tell you, I'm starting to get turned into smoking chicken wings and having smoked chicken wings. So you know that I went down to South Carolina to move my daughter into her dorm. She's gonna be a freshman this year at
Hmm.
Coastal Carolina University. And while we were there, we went to a local restaurant where I got smoked chicken wings. And the description was like, these are not buffalo chicken wings, not what you're thinking, but, give it a try, that type of thing. I tried it. It was they were the best chicken wings I think I've ever had. Just smoked so good. It had that nice smoke flavor to them, and just it tasted so good. So that's kind of been my newest thing, which is kind of an interesting thing because smoking obviously takes longer to do. But that's what I'd probably go with chicken wings. You can do them many different ways, but that's a good way that I think I'm going to start going with them. I like to do homemade beef jerky where I get the chuck roast steaks, right? Slice them up really thin. I have a pellet grill, but if you have a pellet grill or a smoker, you can set it to like 180 degrees, 175, 180. My pellet grill only goes to 180 at the start, so that's where I started at. And I think you do about 3 to 4 hours, maybe a little longer, depending on how crunchy you want it to get, and that's really good. It's some of the best beef jerky you can have. You can make it really carnivore and just put some salt on it, or you can go more like the low carb style and you can put some garlic on it, garlic powder, maybe some other seasoning, some pepper, that kind of stuff. And it's really good that way. So I like to do that. And you mentioned the pork rinds. Those are a good one that I did just this last fall when I was, a couple months into carnivore, month or two in. And sometimes going back, so I'm 49 years old,
Hmm.
and I've been kind of trained. Like I'm sitting at home watching football games and I want to eat. So what I tried to do last fall was something healthy, and pork rinds was one of the things I did. So you can go to like Aldi or wherever and get some, pork rinds pretty cheap. That are really good. Make sure you check the label and you don't have too much stuff in there or whatever. But so you can do good options with that. And I know there was another one I was just thinking, of course, because I didn't write it down. I can't remember now. So let me see if I can remember it. Boy.
No, I have a question for you. Do you do any kind of dipping with the wings at all? Or can you use any kind of dip, or do you like cheese or something? Or
Yeah. So if I'm being really good with carnivore, what I'd like to do is just season them with Redmond salt and use butter. I will sometimes use Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce, which is pretty good for you. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any sugar. It's very minimal, and there's not a whole lot of ingredients. So that's not too bad. Maybe mix a little bit of that in with the butter, melted butter, and I pour that on it. Most of the time, that's all I do. Occasionally, I will do Old Bay dry rub. And I might do I like to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and here's the interesting thing: Buffalo Wild Wings cooks their wings in lard, so it's actually healthier than most places where they might be using some sort of seed oils or whatever. But their sauces have sugar in them and aren't necessarily the best. So sometimes if I go to Buffalo Wild Wings, I'll get like, I don't know, the spicy garlic or something on the side. And then I'll just dip a little bit onto the chicken wing. So the wing doesn't have any sauce on them. And I just maybe put a little bit. So I'm not getting too much because there is quite a bit of sugar in that. So that's typically what I'll do with chicken wings. And then if I'm just not being as careful with the carbs and so forth, I might even use a little bit of ranch to dip in. But that's not really the best in the world to do. So
yeah, since I do more keto, I tend to use a little bit of ranch, with dipping on some of that. And the other thing is, G Hughes makes a sugar-free barbecue sauce
Mm,
that is really low carb. So I use that too if you're looking for barbecue flavor. I think there's only a couple carbs in like 2 tablespoons roughly, which isn't too bad. And it's sugar-free, but for somebody that's on a keto diet or low carb, they can get by with that probably. But
yeah.
definitely, yeah, it sounds good. There's definitely a lot of options. When you talk about any kind of meat you could cook, to be honest, for tailgating, especially if you're
Hmm.
at the game and in the parking lot. You sometimes people make breakfast, at the tailgating too. So just depends
Yeah.
on the time of the game. So
And you bringing up barbecue sauce, that's a good point. That was another one I was kind of thinking of is pulled pork.
yeah,
Pulled pork, whether you're smoking it or some people even do it like in the crock pot. My wife will do that in the crock pot. I'd rather have it smoked, but she likes it better in the crock pot. So, we kind of go back and forth, I guess. But anyway, you can make it where it still turns out pretty good. If you've got a barbecue sauce, like you said, that's, very low carb, that works well. I sometimes just make sure there's not really sugar in the seasoning mix that I use and put different seasonings on it and just go with the seasoning that it's cooked in and don't use anything else. So that's another good option there. Here's somebody pointed out the Hughes sauces are great that you were talking about, so that's
yeah,
good.
yeah. He makes a lot of different stuff. I mean, he even makes coleslaw sauce.
Mm,
It's all sugar free. So, but there's a few carbs in it, so you just got to be careful not to use too much.
yeah. Okay. So I thought of the other thing that I was trying to remember, and this also is using chuck roast, kind of like when you do the homemade beef jerky that I was talking about. And this is a recipe called Crunchy Bits that I got from Michaela Peterson. And just off the top of my head here, basically what you do is you take the
Mhm.
chuck roast, you put it in the Instant Pot, I think for like an hour and a half, with some water, salt, let it go, and then I think you let it sit for like an hour and a half or something like that, and then you move it to you shred it up really good and move it to the air fryer, and the air fryer gets it really crunchy and crispy.
Sounds
And
good.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that a few times, and it's pretty good. So that's another good one. I think that's a good option for game day and so forth. So, anybody else has any good options for game day food, tailgating food? Go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll bring those to light for everybody. And let's kind of go back to our predictions here. So that takes us to the NFC. We already did our AFC divisions. So let's go to NFC, and we'll start with the NFC North. I think I know who you're picking here, but I'll let you go with it.
I think you might be surprised.
Uh oh.
It's I think we kind of discussed it a little bit that we feel Detroit and Minnesota are probably right there for who's going to win the division. I think Green Bay or Chicago will probably be at the bottom of the division. Probably Green Bay. I'm thinking. I think it's a rebuilding year for them. We'll see what happens. Chicago could be right there too. But as much as I love my Vikings, I would not be surprised to see Detroit win the division this year.
Mm.
So that's my pick is Detroit will win the division. Do I hope it's my Vikings? Yes.
All right. So, again, I'm a Detroit Lions fan. It's been a struggle for us. Never played in the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure we're not going to the Super Bowl this year either, but I like the improvement that I've seen. The improvement last year was really good. And when it comes to the division here, I was really torn in thinking about this one. I kind of went back and forth with the Lions and the Vikings. And I ended up picking the Lions. And I hope that I'm not jinxing them as, you know, by picking them, since they are my favorite team. But I'm going to go with the Lions. Brad is also saying the Lions, and I know he said he was a Vikings fan, so
Yeah.
this is interesting here. We might be putting too much pressure on Detroit because we don't do well, you know. The Lions, they always seem to get our hopes up for some reason in the off season, and then things don't go well. But again, the end of the second half of the season was really strong for Detroit. And like I said, I like what Dan Campbell's doing, so I'm gonna go with them.
He's
We'll
definitely
see.
changing the culture there. I think there's a good chance they could be really tough, and it'll be interesting to see how that division pans out. But it definitely, I think it'll be a dogfight between Minnesota and Detroit to win that division. But ultimately, I think Detroit will probably come out on top. Vikings defense just hasn't been that good. Granted, I think their offense will be pretty stellar, but we'll see what happens for sure.
Yeah. I will say that I think the Lions are going to be tough for anybody they play. That's the mentality that Campbell brings to that team, and I think they're going to be tough. Whether or not it's going to be enough to result in enough wins to the division to win the division, we'll have to see. I'm hoping it will. I think it will, but they're going to be a tough team every game they play. I think for anybody they're
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, they'll be good.
Yep. All right, so that brings us to the NFC East. Who do you have there?
You know, obviously there's some pretty good teams there. There's Dallas is always they're kind of always in the mix. They seem to fold. It seems like come playoffs time. The Giants, I think, will be improved. I'm not sure on the quality of the team they'll have, though. I mean, I don't think they're going to be Eagles caliber. Washington, I think they'll be improved too. I'm going to pick the Eagles. That defense is pretty phenomenal, and they've done really well the last few years, and I think they got stronger in the draft as well on defense. So I'm going to pick the Eagles on that one.
Okay. So it's funny, just a couple of years ago, we were looking at, you know, potentially having a team under 500 winning that division, right? And you saw what Philadelphia did last year. I'm going with the Eagles again. You mentioned defense. That's what, for me, really puts them over the edge. They had a really good offense last year, and I guess the question is, our team's going to start adjusting to that a little bit. We'll have to see. But the defense, not only was the defense already looking pretty good, but they just continue to bring in great talent on defense. And look at all the Georgia guys, Georgia
Yeah,
Bulldogs that they're bringing in on defense, which, I mean, Georgia's had like the best defense in the country the last 2 or 3 years. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think that defense is going to be really scary. So definitely, I don't think anybody else has a shot in the NFC East. I got to go with the Eagles all the
yeah,
way there.
I agree. Yep, definitely.
All right. So that takes us to the NFC South.
That's an interesting division. To me, it's one of the weaker divisions in the NFC. I think the Falcons will be better, and I think Carolina Panthers will be better. I think obviously the Buccaneers. I think they're going to be at the bottom, especially with Tom Brady not there anymore. Um, the Saints, I think they intrigue me. They have Carr there now as their quarterback. Just having looking at it a little bit, I think I'm going to pick the Saints to win the division this year. I think they are going to make some strides with having Carr there. It'll be interesting because there's a couple other, if Falcons will be much improved, but I'm going to go with the Saints.
Okay. So let's see. The AFC South, AFC West, NFC North, we all picked the same team, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be 4 divisions in a row. We picked the same team. This is kind of getting a little weird here, but I'm going with the Saints. Or is this 5? Wait, this is 5 in a row because the NFC East, we also picked the Eagles. So yeah, this is the 5th division in a row that we're picking the same team. This is getting crazy. I'm going with the Saints. And this is what's interesting here. I don't know what's going on with the NFL right now, but I feel like the AFC South and the NFC South are the two lower divisions, and they're both the South. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, you're right.
And it just a couple years ago, you wouldn't say that was the case, right? It's
Mhm.
completely flipped here in the last couple years. But I like the Saints. I like Carr as the quarterback. I think they're going to have a good turnaround year here, and I'm picking them to win the division.
Yep, I think so too.
So Nicole, former fat girl, is here. So hello, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Nicole, if you have a favorite NFL team, let us know in the chat. And anybody else also that has joined since the beginning, let us know if you have a favorite NFL team. Also, let us know if there are any tailgating or like game day type of foods that are low carb or carnivore that you really like. And let us know in the comments and we'll bring it up and talk about them. We've already talked about a few
We're doing a
that we
live with
like.
Nicole tomorrow night too.
Yes, we are.
As a matter of fact,
Yes. It'll be the two of us and Nicole and Alia Wells tomorrow night. What time? That is
8 o'clock
nine
Central.
Eastern,
Yep.
8 Central. Yeah.
Mhm.
So 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central time. So be on the lookout for that one tomorrow night. Hope you guys can join us for that. And let's go to the last division here, the NFC West. Who do you have?
Well, obviously, the Arizona Cardinals will probably be the worst team in football this year. So I think they'll be the cellar dweller there. The Rams, I don't think they'll be too much better than that. A little bit. I think they'll finish, third in that division. Obviously, you got the 49ers and the Seahawks. Now, I'm going to pick the 49ers. I think they're the best team over there in the West. I do, however, think Seattle will be a surprise team this year. I think they'll be pretty decent, and I'm picking them to be a wild card team. I think they'll be good enough. My other wild card team was Minnesota and the Cowboys. That's kind of who I had for wild cards in the NFC, but definitely going with the 49ers in that division.
Okay. So I have the 49ers as well. So I don't know what's going on. The AFC North and the AFC East, we picked different teams, but
Yep.
we're definitely going with the same teams after that in the divisions.
We're dialed in, Brian.
The interesting thing for the 49ers, I think, is going to be the QB situation. I almost kind of wonder if there's going to be a little bit of controversy there. Who do you think is going to be the guy there at quarterback for the
For the
49ers?
49ers,
Yeah.
I think it'll be Purdy.
You think so?
Yeah, I think I was just pretty much reading an article. Steve Young was talking about him, I believe, and just said him and the coach are really on the same page. He delivers the ball so quickly that he just picks things up and will do really well. It's too bad he got hurt in that NFC Championship game early, and they didn't have a quarterback to finish the game because I think that could have been a different ball game had
Hmm.
things went well and not had injuries. It's unfortunate that I guess they changed the rule this year where now they can have three quarterbacks on the roster or active, I guess. So that'll be good because that was a disappointing NFC matchup when the players got hurt right away like they did.
Yeah. All right, we've got a game day food here. Natalie says smoked salmon, smoked mackerel, and boiled eggs are my go-to quick snacks. So that's good. Good snacks while you're sitting there watching the game, right? Good healthy snacks.
That's my
Boiled
go-to: hard
eggs.
boiled eggs and bacon.
Yep.
Those are go-to snacks for me usually. They definitely are good.
Yep. Bacon's a good one for me too. I like to have bacon. All right. So what I didn't tell you on my side, I guess, was the wild card teams in the NFC for me. So, like I said, I kind of went back and forth for a while about the Lions and
Yeah,
the Vikings in the NFC North. I ended up picking the Lions. The Vikings are definitely in as well. So definitely going with them. And um, this might be a little bit crazy, but I am from kind of, or I live, not originally from, but I live in Virginia,
Hmm.
kind of close to Washington, D.C. So I'm going with, I guess I call them the Commanders. I'd rather call them the Redskins,
Me
but I'm
too.
going with Washington.
Yeah.
And I agree about Seattle. I think they're going to be a good team. So I'm going to pick them as my third team there.
I'd rather see Washington than the Cowboys myself.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's who I'm picking, but it's one of those things I'd love to see New York or Washington get in there instead of Dallas, I guess. But that's just my
I
thing.
get this. I get this feeling like Dallas is going to be there, and then they're just going to mess up like they always do in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Washington. I'm going to pick them over Dallas. I
I like
just,
the pick.
yeah, I think it's been a while since they've been in the playoffs, right? At least maybe 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
At least,
Yep.
yeah.
It's been a little bit.
So I'm going with Washington. We'll see what happens there. I don't know. So I do have a surprise team, and I'm not sure who your surprise team is. I'll go to you, but let me go to me first here
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
this one is funny because I was thinking like this is going to be great for the surprise team. You're not going to say anything about this team, and then you pick them to win their division, and that's the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, sure. Yep.
I really think they're going to be much improved, and they're going to really surprise people this year.
Yeah, I agree.
So they are my surprise team. But what's your surprise team?
I actually wrote two down. Granted, I agree with you with the Saints. I think that most people that will be a surprise this year. I think winning the division. I believe I have two surprise teams down. One of them I mentioned, actually both of them. The Steelers, I think, will surprise some people, and I think they'll end up being a lot better than people realize. I'm not saying they're going to necessarily make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be close. I think they'll be pretty decent. And then I think the Seahawks, I think they're going to challenge a lot of people and be pretty good too. So those are, I picked two of them. I liked them both and thought, man, they're both going to be pretty decent, I think, this year.
Okay. So Nicole tells us that she really likes the Eagles. In fact, she even spelled it out EAGL. Yes. So Nicole's really going for the Eagles here. I got to tell you that they're a pretty good team. That's a good option there. So let's talk about who we think is going to win the AFC and the NFC and play in the Super Bowl. Now that
That sounds
she's
good.
brought up the Eagles,
Well, I'll
what
let
do
you
you
go
think?
first. Why don't you go first?
Okay. So I'm going to go out there and agree with Nicole. In the NFC, it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. I just love their defense, like I said, and the fact that they're getting they've really in the past two drafts, they've loaded up on defense. And that I just think that if they can really in the next few years sign all these guys again and keep them on their team, that's going to be a scary defense for years to come. So I'm going with the Eagles from the NFC. AFC, I'm going to go with Buffalo. And I know this is kind of interesting because I remember as being a kid, the Bills went to the Super Bowl like three
4 times.
years in a row.
It's
Was it
four.
four?
Yeah.
4 in a row. And they just couldn't get it done.
No.
And I'm not going to say yet if I think they're going to be able to get it done, but I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl this year. I think it's finally their turn to get there and maybe even win it. I'm not going to say yet if they're going to win it, but Kansas City I know is a tough out. Cincinnati's been there. Really, those are the three teams up there. I think for me, Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Buffalo. But I think Buffalo is going to get into the Super Bowl. So my Super Bowl matchup will be the Buffalo Bills against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Very good.
So who do you got?
Well, you're going to find mine kind of interesting, I think. As far as the NFC goes, I think the 49ers are going to overcome the Eagles this year. And I think they'll be in the Super Bowl and win the NFC. And we'll see what happens, though. I mean, the Eagles are definitely right there, but I guess I'd like to see the 49ers in my personal. I'd like to see them pick. I'd like to see them win it in the NFC. And the AFC is kind of a surprise team, you could say. I'm picking the Jets to get to the Super Bowl. Um, it's
Mm,
not many people would probably say that with Kansas City on the table, Cincinnati. But I have a feeling the Jets are going to be tough this year. They got a lot of experience now, and they were pretty decent last year. They're only a few wins away from being right there. A couple games go a couple other ways, and they're right there. So it'll be interesting. It's probably maybe a little reach, but I just think that your Cincinnati Bengals are going to be there. Your Cleveland Browns could end up being in the mix too. They're all quite a few good teams there. I do not think Kansas City will win it this year, though. I don't think they'll get there. I think someone will beat them, and I think it'll be the Jets.
okay. All right. So before we go to our picks for the Super Bowl, let's go back into our low carb carnivore, you know, tailgating, game day, whatever. So for me, drink wise, I may splurge a little bit and have some sparkling ice, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I'm just going to drink water. That's pretty much what I do. What do you do? Do,
Well,
do you do different types of drinks?
I do. I drink obviously a lot of water, but I will have a beer. I will drink a Miller Lite. Not a lot, just one. It's fairly low carb, and then the other thing is like ice. Smirnoff Ice Zero Sugar. That's one of those. It's like 2.3 carbs. I'll drink one of those. It's not one of those I drink multiple, but I will have a beer once in a while. If I'm going to grill out or cook, I do that. Now it's not something I do every time, but it's something I will grab an alcoholic beverage, and I've still managed to lose the weight. Now maybe that'll be a different story as it gets a little tougher for me. I guess if I'm getting stuck in my weight loss, I'm more in line with drinking my water. I do drink Diet Pepsi. I do drink a pop. Not a lot of it, but I do drink one once in a while. So I mean that's been pretty routine for me all along. So like I said, until I get really stuck, and then I have to put my nose to the grindstone and put some of this stuff out there and not drink it because I know it's not always the healthiest either. So. But I do manage to have some of that, and I'm still having success. So far, so good.
Okay. So for me, I haven't had a whole lot of alcohol for a few years because that's something that can contribute to AFib and can,
Yep.
have an episode happen. So I've kind of stayed away from alcohol. I used to drink alcohol a lot more. But here's the interesting thing that I've recently had with alcohol. Early July, I went to the Smoky Mountains for a week on vacation, and I had some moonshine a couple of nights in a row, and I ended up getting sick. I had like some sinus issues and sinus infection that basically went into bronchitis and stuff. And I kind of wondered because I had heard and had read that alcohol has histamine in it, and some people have problems and some people don't with it. And I kind of wondered if that had anything to do with it. So, this weekend here, my daughter, we moved her into her dorm for her freshman year, and so Friday night we stayed in Myrtle Beach, and my wife and I each had a little bit to drink, kind of like as a hey, last kid is gone type thing,
Empty
right? Like the
nester.
yeah. So I had a little bit. I didn't want a lot of anything, and we went to the store, and I found this like can of some kind of like a margarita type of thing, right? So I was like, okay, I'll get that. That's not too much. I should be fine with that. And I drank that, and it's funny. This little can, like I actually got buzzed from it, which is just so funny to me because like I used to be able to drink quite a bit, but now that I don't drink anymore, I just drink a little bit, and apparently I can get drunk from it. But the interesting thing was that was Friday night, and yesterday evening, really kind of on the way home, I started to notice some sinus issues, and I have a bit of sinus pressure and just some sinus issues here, almost like a little bit of a sinus infection. And I still have it a little bit today. So, interestingly enough, I think, does that mean I'm allergic to alcohol? I guess.
I
I
wonder
don't
if it's
know.
the yeast that's in it or something that's giving you a hard time.
Yeah, I don't know. So for me at least, I think I'm better off staying away from the alcohol as much as possible. Knowing me, I'll probably still every once in a while have a drink and then the next day be like, wonder why I have sinus issues today. But it's interesting that that's like the last two times I've had alcohol, I've noticed that. And I'm a person that going back 5, 10 years ago, I used to have a lot of sinus infections. And I just thought that that was part of being sick. But now I'm starting to wonder, like, was that because of when I drank and I just never put two and two together? I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's kind of like I said earlier. Once you eat a certain way and you kind of get dialed in, you realize the little differences when you try something different, and then you're like, what caused that issue or what caused that problem?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, did you see this in the chat here from Nicole? She said, Cincy just lost their starter. I've been away for a few days and haven't been paying as much attention. I haven't really been paying that much attention to the preseason games. Is she talking about Joe Burrow?
Is it the quarterback or
Oh, yeah. Look, I
I'm
just
not?
found, okay, I just found an article. It says Joe Burrow injury update from like 1 day ago. So, Nicole, if you're still there in the chat, let us know what you know. It says lower right leg injury.
I know he heard it here a few weeks ago, but it sounded like maybe he'd missed the first game or two of the season.
Hmm.
But that was before, unless he heard it again. So
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, that's not going to be too big of an injury because I think that that really hurts.
wasn't that a couple years ago where they
Yeah,
lost
she
like
says it was
seven
Burrow.
and then they won like nine straight to make the playoffs and stuff? If I remember
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. And I mean, if he's hurt for an extended amount of time, then that totally changes the division. You know, I'm not so sure that they would win the AFC North. I'd have to go with the Ravens then. But we'll have to see. Brad says he's going to be heading out. Go Vikings. All right. Thanks for joining us, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
And Nicole says Burrow heard it during practice. Okay. See, I've been, it's funny because I've been so busy with the Carnivore channel. And then I've had, in the last couple of weeks, all three of my kids have
Oh yeah,
moved out.
a lot going
So
on.
we've been busy with all the moving and stuff. I haven't paid that much attention. I've tried to be keeping up with things as much as I could. But yeah, I didn't hear that about Burrow. So
It's the same. I moved two people in the last week too, so I just haven't been
yeah.
in tune that much.
So have yours been going to college too? Is that what that's
Yeah,
for?
my son's a sophomore in college, and then I had to move my mother-in-law into assisted
Hmm.
living. So, I we finally got that done, and I also kind of take care of my mom a couple days, or most days I stop in and see her and help her out with whatever she needs. So she's 86 though, and she's kind of on her last leg, I think, from what the doctors were saying. So one day at a
Hmm.
time with her, but she's lived a good long life. So just do what I can to help her out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So are you ready to talk Super Bowl?
Yeah. Yep.
All right,
I'm
let's do
ready.
it. I'll let you start. Who do you have winning? I think you said, so let's see, you said San Francisco 49ers
Yep.
against
The New York Jets.
the New York Jets. That's right, the Jets.
Yep.
So who do you have there
I'm going to pick the
to win?
49ers. I think it'll be close. I think you could flip a coin as to which team would win, but I'll pick the 49ers. I mean, they're pretty good last year. They put in a nice run, and I still think they have that in them for maybe this year. And I guess it's one of those things. Granted, there's several teams that could be there, but I think they have a good shot at winning it.
Okay. So you remember I had Philadelphia Eagles from the
Mm-hmm.
NFC against the Buffalo Bills in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
And for my Super Bowl winner, I know I kind of hinted a little bit before about the Bills maybe possibly
Yep.
actually winning a Super Bowl because they've been there so many times and not done it. But hold on, they're not going to win it. The Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. So I'm sorry if there's any Buffalo Bills fans that got excited out there. I have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, I mentioned that I'm an Alabama fan in college. I talked about Tua. Unfortunately, he seems to be injury prone. Jalen Hurts. I really liked him as a quarterback in college, and I had so much respect for him for how he stayed there after he lost the starting position to
Yeah.
Tua. And really, he helped them win, was it the SEC Conference Championship game, I believe, when Tua got hurt. That was great. And then he went to Oklahoma and had the ability to show that he was really a good passer, because I think that was one of the big question marks with him in college was, yes, he can run, but is he a good passer? And he showed that at Oklahoma. And he had a great year for the Eagles last year. It had a lot to do with the ability for him to be a dual threat, right? Where he could run or he could pass. And then they had a really good running game as well with their running backs. So their offense was great. The question is, can the offense be as good this year? I don't know if it needs to be quite as good, but can they be good enough? I think they can be good enough. I already talked about their defense being really good, really strong. Um, you keep adding Georgia guys on defense. You can't go wrong there, right?
No.
So I'm going with the Eagles. I think it's funny because I talked before, I said the Buffalo Bills maybe are kind of becoming the New England Patriots, or the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm sorry, becoming the next New England Patriots. The Philadelphia Eagles might be that team that gets in the way of the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs have won a couple of Super Bowls here, but you look at that team, all the talent they've got on defense, they've got good young players on offense. It's been amazing the last couple of drafts how they've had so many top first, second round draft picks that they've accumulated and been able to pick. And most of those guys have been contributing very well already. So they're a good young team. They got good experience last year, and I'm going with them to win the Super Bowl.
I like your picks. I think that's within reason. If I was, picking the Eagles versus Buffalo, I'd probably pick the Eagles. I would be cheering for Buffalo though. I remember the 4 Super Bowls that they lost. I kind of wanted them to win, and they didn't. It kind of reminds me of the Vikings early on because they went to 4 Super Bowls and lost all four, not in a row. But Buffalo did that, and I was kind of cheering for them back then. And I'd like to see them win one, definitely. But I'd like to see my Vikings win one, and like you'd like to see your Lions. So
Heck, I'd like to see the Lions
make the
even
playoff.
get to the, yeah, I would say make the Super Bowl, but just make the playoffs at this point, you know? When was the last time they made the playoffs? Like probably 10, 12 years ago?
It's been a while, definitely, and it was a while
Probably,
before
yeah.
that. I think when Barry Sanders was there.
Yeah. They had that one year with Barry Sanders. I remember
Wayne Fonts was
they
their
made
coach.
it to the conference championship game. I think they played the Washington Redskins. I could say
Mm-hmm.
Redskins because they were the Redskins back then. And pretty sure they got blown out in that game. But they made it to the conference championship game. That is like, since the Super Bowl era, that was as close as it gets for them,
Yeah,
which is sad. So this year I'd like to see them make the playoffs, and then maybe next year be more of a contender. So I don't know, but yeah, sometimes it's rough being a Detroit Lions fan, but hopefully things are on the up.
yeah, and I thought I had it bad being a Vikings fan. Being a Lions fan, definitely have some patience for for the team and all that they've went through. So, yeah, I think they're going to be right there, Brian. Though I think they're going to be good this year, and I think you should be a little bit excited about what's happening there. It definitely has a different feel from all the other years that you watched the Lions play. So, a couple of years ago, it seemed like they lost all those nail biter games. But then
Mm,
last year, they came around solid and are definitely improving and getting better. So, should be a good season for them.
yeah. And it's funny. I think the last time they won the world championship was like 1950 or 1951 or something like that. So it was before the Super Bowl, right? And true Lions style, their quarterback. This later it comes out that their quarterback played drunk, and he was always drunk. So a Lions fan, you're like, okay, well, even the last time we won the world championship, can we really brag about it because our quarterback was drunk?
Right.
So it's tough being a Lions fan, let me tell you. But hopefully, this is the year to get the playoffs, and I don't know. I'm hoping.
It should be a fun year. There's a lot of good teams, especially in, three of the divisions are pretty, two of the AFC North and AFC East are pretty tough. Same thing with NFC North, AFC East are really tough. NFC West is tough too. The other three, not so much, but there's definitely going to be some good matchups. And then, it seems like every year teams surprise everybody and come out of nowhere and start winning. And,
Hmm.
you get players like Brock Purdy that come out of nowhere and play really well for these teams and make a big difference on how well they do. So we'll see
Yeah,
what happens though. It should be a good year though. A lot of fun.
yeah. So I'm going to ask you another question here, and this wasn't planned at all,
Yeah.
so I'm really putting you on the spot. Who do you think is going to be the MVP of the NFL this year?
Ooh, MVP of the NFL this year. It'll be interesting. I would say, if I go along with my picks on who I think will make it to the Super Bowl, I would have to say Aaron Rodgers might come out of nowhere and win that if they play up to their potential. That's who I would probably lean on. That's if the Jets can get there. I think he'd be mentioned. Um, we'll see. He is getting up there. He's getting to be our age. A
Yeah,
little bit
I think
younger
you're
yet.
right.
Still.
I think you're right, though. If they get to the Super Bowl, he's going to be a very strong candidate for MVP.
Yep.
Um, and I picked the Eagles to win, so I think that Jalen Hurts is probably a pretty strong
Yep.
candidate there as well. Um, and I haven't thought about this either. You got the Bills. They are. I got them in my Super
Josh
Bowl,
Allen could be
so
there
yeah.
too. Yep.
So
If
yeah,
they're
we could go with Allen. I mean, it's hard to not say that Mahomes is not going to be in the picture.
right. Yep.
Um, I think I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts just because I picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So if they really are that good, he's probably going to put up great numbers between passing and running. Somebody we haven't picked as well, or we haven't said as well, who I think is going to be in the playoffs. His team, you said they're going to win the division, would be Lamar Jackson for the
Mhm.
Ravens. That's another person that could be a potential candidate. But I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. No, I think that's a solid pick too. So, yeah, any of those that you talked about, Mahomes and like I said, if the Jets get up there, Aaron Rodgers is going to be in consideration too. And I think San Francisco they're very balanced, so I don't see any particular player being an MVP there. But heck, you never know. But I think one of the players we mentioned will be the MVP of the league.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. If you have any questions for us or anything that you want to add, please go ahead and do so here in the chat. I'm going to find really quick the link for tomorrow night's live so that
Oh
I
yeah.
can advertise that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about food addiction on that live stream. So that should be a great
Yeah.
topic to talk about and get everybody's kind of input on that. And I know everybody's channel that we're involved with on that. So it should be a good conversation and for sure.
Yeah. So let's see. So that'll be tomorrow night, Monday, August 21st, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, our main topic is food addiction. It's going to be Greg, myself, Nicole, and Elia Wells. And I think I got it. Well, there's not a good way to do this. Okay. Wait, I think I know how I can do this. So here is in the comments, that is from my channel. And let me find your channel and put that in there so that we can support both of our channels. People can support both of our channels. So the first link was from my channel. This is for Greg's channel. And it'll be live on both of our channels. If you're not as familiar with how the live streams work with multiple channels, whichever channel you are watching is the channel that you see the chat in. For us, we are seeing the chat for both channels, but you might not see everybody's chat messages if you're just on one channel. So that's why a lot of times we will go in, like I will just go here and we'll put something on the screen. I haven't put this on the screen yet. Nicole says that she just thought she was already subscribed, so she subscribed to Greg's channel. So you might be on.
I'm right on the edge of 500, so maybe I'll get there.
Okay, there you go. So you might be on my channel and not see that message and be like, how did he get that on the screen? That's because it was on Greg's chat. And then, of course, so let me put this here. So this is the live stream tomorrow on my channel, and this is what it is for Greg's channel. So again, tomorrow, make sure I get the time right. 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be talking about food addiction, low carb, carnivore, that type of stuff with Nicole and Elia. And so, Greg, I don't see any other questions coming up in our chat. Anything that you want to say to finish it off tonight?
Oh, I want to thank you for putting this on and working with me to do my first live stream tonight, Brian. I appreciate all your help on that, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed making the picks and talking some tailgating food, and I look forward to some future lives with you going forward. I mean, I enjoy what you have to say, and I like everything you've done, and you're doing a great job losing weight. So keep up the great work with your health. You're doing awesome.
All right. Thank you. I thought this was a great live tonight. We did a lot of talking really about sports. We talked a little bit about, low carb and carnivore, a little bit about our foods that we like to eat while we're watching the game day foods, tailgating type foods, and talked a little bit about the drinking, what we like to drink and that kind of stuff. But we didn't talk a whole lot about carnivore. So definitely, I think it'd be great if we can do another live here coming up soon together, where we just pick some carnivore topics, get a lot more questions coming in from the audience and so forth.
I think
that'd be pretty fun. Yeah,
definitely.
All right. So thank you everybody for watching, and don't forget tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central Time. Come back to our channels and watch our live with Nicole and Elia. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.